photographing landscapes. When we talk about landscape photography, we talk about photographing that beautiful sunrise, or that gorgeous sunset, or that big storm heading our way. But do we think about photographing a tree? Not trees, just a tree, like this image here. Today, I'm going to talk about photographing a tree, any type of tree, and how to do it the right way. Because believe me, if you think photographing a tree is easy, wow, you're in for a big surprise. And I'm sure if you've tried to photographing a tree, you've realized that it's not that easy. You need separation. When we're photographing a particular subject, we have to think about not as a landscape image, we have to think about as a portrait image. We want separation, like portrait photographers do. How do they get their images to pop? They have great separation between their subject and the background. But which landscape photographer has an f2.8 lens in their back pocket? I don't. I'm going to show you whether you use an ultra-wide angle lens, a standard zoom lens, or, wow, this beast here, the 200 to 500 Nikon telephoto lens, you can get great images of a tree with great separation. It's all about the know-how and knowing how to frame your subject, because sometimes the image that you think is great, when you get home and you start looking at it, you'll go, dang, that photo didn't turn out the way I wanted it. And believe me, I'm talking from experience because it's happened to me. When I go out and I see a tree that I'd like to photograph, I won't just take one composition of it. I will take a few different compositions, because sometimes on the day, the photo that you think is going to work out doesn't work out. And also pay particular attention to your background, because this is where everything can come undone. And I've learned from the past, I've looked and I go like, wow, look at that tree. And I get home, there's just heaps of background detail. It's a great image, but it didn't achieve what I wanted it to do. So let's take a look at some images, and I'm going to show you why some don't work and some work, taken from nearly the same position. Look at this beautiful yellow tree, golden, but look at the back. There's great separation, beautiful blue skies. Normally in landscapes, we like clouds and all that, but a beautiful blue sky. The foreground is green, the tree is yellow, the background is blue. It is great. This image really pops. I came upon this tree and I go like, wow, look at it. It's just out in the middle of this farmland. So I framed it up. It looks great, doesn't it? But look at the background. Can you see that there's just so much background? The tree's nice, but it sort of gets lost, doesn't it? It doesn't really have that wow factor. Now take a look at this image here. Same position. All I did was went from landscape, portrait orientation, using the 24 to 85, zoomed in a bit, and you can see there's like a track leading to the tree. Now I've gotten rid of all the clutter. This photo really stands out compared to this one here. You see the difference? Same position. Now we have great detail in our tree. Look at this image here. It's great. Now before I go on, do you think that this photo is what I'm talking about? Photographing a tree and making it pop. Tell me in the comments. Tell me if you like this photo before I show you the next photo of this tree. Do you think that this would look nice on your wall as a tree photo? It's a great landscape photo, but is it a great representation of this beautiful tree here? Same position. Again, I've gone from landscape to portrait, zoomed in. It's great because I've cropped in. Now we have great separation. We don't have any other tree in the photo. All we have is our tree compared to the other image here. Look at the difference. Portrait. I really like this. And you will find most of the time when we photograph trees, we have to think about as a portrait photo. Photographing a tree in portrait orientation, 9 times out of 10 will turn out to be much better than in landscape orientation. Doesn't mean that landscape orientation won't work all the time. Sometimes it does, but let's say that 8 out of 10, you'll get a better photo in portrait. Now, You're wondering, why did I say that I had this 200 to 500 here? Well, this photo here was taken at 460 mils. This tree was quite away from me on the road, but the sun was just shining on the side here of this gum tree, and it looked great. But with my 24 to 85, I'd zoomed it 85 mil, and it was still quite small. And you're like, I want this photo, but it's just too far. Luckily, because I was hoping also to see some birds that morning, I put the 200 to 500 on, zoomed out the 460, leaned up against the tree, got this photo, and I really like it. There's separation. It's just like a model. The sun's shining on it, and because the sun wasn't up so much yet, the hill in the background there is all dark. So we've got great separation between our subject and the background. Now, I've just been saying, most of the time, let's say 8 out of 10 times, portrait will be better than landscape. I was driving around Lake Somerset area with my Nikon D7500, just looking for landscape images. And as I drove down this road, I came upon all these trees, and they were just standing out in the fields. So I had the 18 to 140 on there, and I zoomed into this tree in portrait orientation, and go like, this will be a great image. It's not, because the background there, it just breaks just over the top of the tree. If I could have gotten closer to the tree, it would have been great. But this tree was at least 150 to 200 meters away from me. It looks nice, but it just didn't work out. Now, this mangrove tree here, I call it my favorite mangrove tree. I've photographed this tree now for over 10 years, in stormy weather, in rainy weather, sunrise, sunset, during the day. This photo here was taken around an hour after sunrise. I used a 15-stop ND filter to smooth out the water and to give it that sort of dream-like look, and it works great. It's symmetric, it's bang in the middle. I've cropped it to 16:9. It's only a mangrove tree. There's nothing fabulous about it. Look at the separation. All we have is just brown, green, and blue. No other colors. And it works a treat. Now, I used to do astrophotography at Lake Somerset on this property here. And this tree here, I photographed quite a few times. And most of the time for my astro workshops, I'd get there a couple of hours early and I'd stake out a new place to take photos of. The reverse sunset that day was just magical. I captured this tree, but look at the background, especially look on the right hand side there. Can you see all the trees? If it was just mounted and not all that clutter on the right, it would have been great. But it's not the ideal tree photo. Same tree, different day. Now I'm facing the opposite direction. I'm facing sunset. I'm using the Tokina 11 to 20 at 11 mils. I'm only a couple of meters away to look at the sky. We've got beautiful sky. There's nothing else in the image, just like that mangrove tree before. And this is a great example of a tree photo. We're highlighting our subject. There's nothing else to distract us from this tree. Look at this tree here. It doesn't take the whole scene up. I didn't shoot it in portrait because when I framed it up in portrait, I couldn't get the road. So I've got the road here, but what is our main subject? It's still the tree. This road here leads you in, and it leads you into this beautiful tree, and I framed it that I've got the sun just glowing behind this tree here. This is at twilight at Lake Weber on the Sunshine Coast. Look at the photo here. It looks great, doesn't it? But there's one distraction. To me, it's really a distraction. Look carefully in the middle of the tree. Can you see all the yachts? If those yachts hadn't been there, would have been great. It's still a great photo, believe me. But the one little drawback is that those yachts are there. Now, this is the same tree, different position. One is at twilight, one is with the Milky Way. Just slightly different position. But what we're after here is to really highlight the tree. I love the Milky Way photo, but can you see how it just blends into the back because the sky is so dark? But look at the twilight photo on the left. Has a tree photo. We're not saying that the one on the right isn't good, but if I was judging these two photos and I've been asked, tell me which one is the best that highlights this tree, I would have to go for the photo on the left. The Milky Way photo looks great, has a Milky Way photo, but the one on the left is much better. Now, this tree with the Milky Way above it is one of my all-time favorites. Now, this photo was taken in 2016, nearly 7 years ago. I got very close to it, pointed the camera up, and I'd waited over an hour for the Milky Way to be dead set vertical with this tree. You can see whether you shoot with an ultra wide, whether you shoot standard lens, or whether you have this beast, the 200 to 500, or any other telephoto lens, 70 to 300, 100 to 400, whatever, you can get great photos. It doesn't matter which lens you use. It's you. Think about how you frame your photo. We're not photographing a landscape. Tree photography is like portrait photography, and you will walk away with some great tree photos. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, enjoy your photography, and I'll see you next time.